Have you ever found yourself panicking the night before a SQL interview? With your heart racing and your mind blank, not knowing where to start? That's exactly what happened to Ria. She had a SQL interview the next day, but her notes on joins, subqueries, and primary keys were all over the place and she felt completely lost. Just then, her friend Arjun came to the rescue. He broke everything down in a simple steps, making it easy for Ria to understand. And by the end of the night, Ria felt confident and ready for her interview. And the next day, she walked in calm and prepared, all thanks to Arjun's help. If you've ever been in Ria's shoes, stressed about a SQL interview and unsure where to start, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to help you prepare quickly by breaking down SQL interview questions into 3 levels. First, beginner friendly, second, intermediate, and third, advanced. So whether you're just starting out or need a quick refresher, I have got you covered. By the end of this video, you will have a cheat sheet to help you revise and feel confident for your next SQL interview. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. Let's get started and make sure you are ready to ace it. Before we actually dive in, I have a quick quiz question for you. The question is, which of the following SQL statements is used to retrieve data from 2 or more related tables? Your options are update, select, join, or delete. Let me know your answers in the comment section below. Also, if you are looking to advance your career in data analytics and AI, then the Professional Certificate Program in Data Analytics and Generative AI from IIT Guwahati is the gateway for success. Over 11 months, you will learn in-demand skills with hands-on experience in tools like Python, SQL, Tableau, Power BI, and generative AI technologies, all through live interactive sessions with industry experts and IIT faculty. And upon completion, you will earn certificate from ENICET Academy, IIT Guwahati, along with IBM industry certificates and career support to help you stand out to top recruiters. So guys, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and enroll now and can find the course link below. So first, let's get started with some beginner-friendly interview questions. So first question is, what is the difference between DBMS and RDMS? Now to answer this, you need to clearly explain the difference between DBMS and RDMS. Let's suppose first we'll talk about the aspect of data storage. Now in the case of DBMS, DBMS stores data as simple files like keeping documents in separate folders, whereas RDMS, it stores data in tables with rows and columns. Now, if we talk about relationships between data, then DBMS files are mostly independent, whereas RDMS allows table to be linked using keys. Next is data integrity. DBMS doesn't fully enforce rules for consistency, whereas RDMS supports asset properties, making sure your data stays accurate even if something goes wrong during a transaction. Now, talking about asset properties, I'll explain that later. Next, we have complexity and usage. In the case of DBMS, DBMS is suitable for small-scale applications like personal or desktop databases. Now, if we talk about RDMS, RDMS is designed for large applications. Let's move on to our second question, which is, what is a primary key and a foreign key? This is often most asked interview questions. So, let's look at the answer now. So let's talk about the primary key first. Now, every table needs a way to identify each record uniquely, and that's what a primary key does. Let's suppose, for example, in a student's table, the student ID is the primary key. No 2 students can have the same ID, whereas a foreign key is a column that connects one table to another. Now, imagine a courses table that has a student ID as a foreign key. This tells the database which student is enrolled in which course. It ensures the data stays consistent across the tables, so you don't accidentally assign a course to a student that doesn't exist. So this is how you answer a question when the interviewer asks you about what is the difference between a primary and a foreign key. Next, let's move on to our third question, which is, what are constraints and their types? Now, constraints are rules that help keep your data accurate and meaningful. Let's suppose, for example, if you want to make sure every student has a name, you can use a not null constraint. If you want to prevent duplicate email addresses, you use unique.primary key. Ensures each row is unique. Foreign key links table and check can enforce rules like age must be greater than 0. Constraints are like the guardrails of a database. They make sure your data doesn't go off the track. Next question is, what are DDL and DML commands? Now, SQL commands are grouped by their purpose. The first one, DDL, which stands for Data Definition Language. This is used to define the structure of your database. Commands like create, alter, and drop fall under DDL. Let's say, for example, create table students ID, bracket, ID int dot name varchar 50 creates a new table. Next up, we've got DML command, which stands for Data Manipulation Language. This is the one for working with the data inside the tables. You can use insert to add data, update to modify it, and delete to remove it. For example, insert into students values bracket 1, RIA. Now this adds a new student record. You can think of DDL as a building of the house and DML as arranging the furniture inside. Next question is, what is the difference between delete, drop, and truncate? This is also one of the most often asked interview questions. The answer is, these three are often confused, but they do have different things to do. The delete removes specific rows from a table. You can choose which one to delete. Talking about truncate, truncate removes all the rows very quickly, but keeps the table structure so you can still insert new data later. Next is the drop command. Drop deletes the entire table, including the structure and all the data, so you can't use it anymore. Imagine delete is picking our books to remove from a shelf and truncate is emptying the shelf completely, whereas drop is throwing the shelf away. So this is how you can clearly differentiate between delete, drop, and truncate. Moving on to our sixth question, which is, what is table and a field in SQL? The answer is, a table is just like a spreadsheet with rows and columns. Each row is one record and each column is called a field, representing a specific attribute of the record. Let's say, for example, in the students table, the column fields could be ID, name, age, and email. Each row would then contain the details of the student. Tables organize your data in a structured and readable way. Let's move on to our seventh question, which is explain null in SQL. The answer is, null represents missing or unknown data. It's not zero and it's not an empty string. It literally means that there is no value. Let's suppose, for instance, if a student hasn't provided a phone number, the database stores it as null. Now, this is useful for representing data that might not always be available, but you still want to keep the record. Moving on to our eighth question, which is, what is default constraint? The answer is, a default constraint automatically assigns a value to a column if no value is provided during insertion. For example, if a country column has a default value of India and you can add a student without specifying the country, it will automatically be filled as India. It saves time and ensures consistency in your database. Our ninth question is, what is the difference between unique and primary key? Now, to answer this, you need to clearly specify the difference. Let's talk about the null value first. In the case of primary key, it cannot have null values, whereas unique key can have one null value. Next is number per table. Only one primary key per table you can use in primary key, whereas unique key can have multiple unique columns. Talking about the purpose, primary key is used as the main identifier for each row, like a student ID. Unique key is used to ensure uniqueness for a column that isn't the main ID. It's just like an email address. Next is the role in relationships. Primary key is often referenced by a foreign key in another table, creating relationships, whereas unique key aren't usually used for this purpose. Next question is, what are the main SQL command categories? The answer is, first, let's break down SQL commands into four main types. The first one is DDL, which defines the structure of your database, creating, altering, or dropping tables. Think of it as building the framework of a house. Next one is DML, Data Manipulation Language, which works with the data inside the tables, inserting, updating, or deleting records. This is like arranging furniture inside your house. Next is DCL, which manages access who can see or change the data. Now, commands like grant and revoke control permissions. Next one is TCL, Transaction Control Language, which handles transactions, commit with save stages, and rollback undoes them if something goes wrong. It is like double checking everything before locking the door. So basically, DDL defines, DML manages data, DCL controls access, and TCL ensures transactions are safe. Now it's time to move on to some intermediate level question. So let's first talk about the difference between group by and order by clauses. The answer is the group by is used to aggregate data into group based on specified columns. It's necessary when performing operations like sum, average, or count on subsets of data. Let's say, for example, you might group employees by department and then calculate the average salary per department. The next one is order by clause. Now, this clause sorts the result set. It can sort in ascending or descending order based on one or more column. You can use it to rank rows from highest to lowest or alphabetically without affecting the actual data structure. Next, let's talk about the difference between where and having clause. The answer is the where clause. It filters rows before any grouping or aggregation happens. It's used to apply conditions on individual rows before any group by operation. Next is having, which is used after grouping and aggregation. It is meant to filter out groups after group by has been applied, like filtering departments with average salaries above a threshold after aggregating data by department. Next question is, what are aggregate functions? Give examples. Let's look at the answer. The answer is aggregate functions perform a calculation on a set of rows and return a single value. They are essential for summarizing data, which is count, which returns the number of rows in a group. Next is the sum, which adds up all the values in a specified column. Next is the average, which calculates the average value of a column. Next, we've got max, which returns the highest value in a group. Minimum returns the lowest value in a group. Our next question is, what is indexing and clustered indexing? So, talking about indexing, now an index speeds up the retrieval of rows by creating a data structure that helps the database quickly locate rows without scanning the entire table. Think of it like an index in a book. Next, we've got clustered indexing. This defines the physical order of data in a table. It sorts and stores the rows of a table based on the clustered index column. A table can have only one clustered index because the rows can only be sorted in one way. Next question is, what is normalization and what are its types? Now, the answer is normalization is a process that reduces redundancy and dependency by organizing data into multiple related tables. This ensures that data is stored logically and efficiently, improving data integrity and consistency. The first type is 1NF. This ensures that all the columns contain atomic, which is indivisible values, and that there are no repeating groups. Next is 2NF, which removes partial dependencies, and it ensures all the non-key columns are fully dependent on the primary key. Next is 3NF. This one eliminates transitive dependencies, meaning no non-key column depends on another non-key column. Next is BCNF. It's a stricter version of 3NF, where every determinant is a candidate key. Next question is, what is the difference between union and union all? Talking about union, it combines results from two or more queries and removes duplicate rows. It is useful when you want a unique list. Next is union all. It combines results from multiple queries but includes all the rows, even duplicates one. This is faster than union because it doesn't need to remove duplicates. The next question is, write a SQL query to find the second highest salary. This question again is one of the most often asked questions. Now to answer this, you need to clearly write the query in front of the interviewer. The first statement would be select max, bracket salary from employees where salary is less than, bracket select max, again small bracket salary from the employees table. Now this query finds the second highest salary by first identifying the highest salary with the subquery and then selecting the maximum salary that's less than that. Next question is, what is a view in SQL? A view is a virtual table created by querying one or more tables. It allows you to save complex queries and reuse them without duplicating the logic. It does not store data but provides a consistent and simplified way to access it. The next question is how to convert text to date format. The answer is you can convert a text string into a date format using functions like cast bracket or convert. The exact syntax depends on the SQL dialect. Using cast, which is standard SQL, then select cast. In bracket, you can mention the date, which is 2025-10-14 as date. Now, using convert SQL server, you need to write the command as select convert bracket date, comma, the date which is 2025-10-14. Next question is what are triggers in SQL? Now, triggers are special type of stored procedures that automatically execute in response to certain events on a table, such as insert, update, or delete. They help enforce business rules, maintain data integrity, or automatically generate logs. Let's suppose, for example, a trigger can automatically update the last modified column whenever an employee's information is updated. Now it's time to move on to some advanced level interview question. Our question is, what is stored procedure in SQL? A stored procedure is a set of predefined SQL queries or commands that are stored in the database. These procedures can be executed, called whenever needed. They are useful for improving reusability, reducing redundancy, and optimizing performance. Now, instead of writing the same SQL queries repeatedly, you can execute the stored procedure with just a call. Next question is, explain subquery and correlated subquery. The answer is, a subquery is a query that is nested inside another query. It is independent and can be executed on its own. Let's suppose the example is select name from employees table where salary is equals to, again bracket, select max salary from the employees table. Now the subquery here finds the highest salary and the outer query retrieves the name of the employee earning that salary. Now talking about correlated subquery, a correlated subquery depends on the outer query. For each row processed by the outer query, the subquery is re-evaluated, meaning it uses values from the outer query. Let's look at the example. The example is select name from employees E, where E.salary is greater than select average bracket salary from employees table where department ID is equals to E.department ID. Now in this case, the subquery uses the department ID from the outer query, which is E.department ID, making it correlated. Next question is, what are window function and what are its example? Now, window functions perform calculations across a set of rows related to the current row, often used for running totals, rankings, or moving averages. Now, these functions allow you to perform calculations without having to group the data. Let's look at the example. Row number. This one assigns unique row number to each row in the result set. Next one is select name.salary row number over order by salary descending order as rank from employees. This assigns a rank based on the salary. Let's move on to our next question, which is what are asset properties? Now, asset stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. These properties ensure that database transactions are processed reliably. Talking about atomicity, the transaction is all or nothing. Either all operations in the transaction succeed or none of them are applied. Next is consistency. The database must remain in a consistent state before and after the transaction. Next is isolation. Transactions are isolated from each other, meaning that the results of one transaction are not visible to others until it is complete. Next one is durability. Now, once a transaction is committed, it is permanent, even in the case of system failure. Next question is, what is a transaction? And explain commit and rollback. To answer this, we need to first explain that a transaction is a set of operations which is performed as a single unit. It can consist of multiple SQL queries, and a transaction ensures that all these operations are completed successfully before making the changes permanent. If something goes wrong, the transaction can be rolled back to maintain data integrity. Next is commit. Commit saves all the changes made during the transaction of the database. Next is rollback, which undoes all the changes made during the transaction, reverting the database to its previous state. Next question is, what are the differences between inner, left join, right join, full and outer join? The answer is, these join types are used to combine two rows from two or more tables based on related columns. The first one is inner join. This one returns rows when there is a match in both the tables. If there's no match, the row is excluded. Let's look at the example. So the command would be something, the query would be something like select e.name, d.department name from employees e table. Inner join departments d on e.department id, which is equals to d.department. Next one is left join. This one returns all the rows from the left table and matching rows from the right table. If there is no match, the result will have null for columns from the right table. The example, the query is select e.name, d.department name from employees E, left join department D on e.department ID, which is equals to d.department ID. Next is the right join. This one returns all the rows from the right table and the matching rows from the left table. If there is no match, the result will have none for columns from the left table. Example, select e.name, d.department name from employees table, right join, departments D on e.department ID, which is equals to d.department ID. Last one is the outer join. This one returns all the rows when there is a match in either table. Now, if there is no match, the result will have null for the missing side. The example query is select e.name, d.department name from employees E table, full outer join departments D on e.department ID, which is equals to d.department ID. So guys, this is how you answer this question when the interviewer asks this. Let me again remind you, this is one of the most often asked interview question. So make sure you prepare it very nicely. Let's move on to our next question, which is what is SQL injection and how to prevent it. SQL injection is a type of attack where malicious SQL code is inserted into a query, which allows attackers to execute arbitrary SQL commands on the database. This can lead to unauthorized access or manipulation of data. Now, how can you prevent it? You can use parameterized queries, also known as prepared statements, to safely insert user input into SQL queries. Next, always validate and sanitize user input to ensure that it conforms to expected format. Next question is how to optimize slow SQL queries. The answer is, to optimize slow SQL queries, the first thing you can do is indexing. Create indexes on frequently queried columns to speed up searches. Avoid select. Always specify only the columns you need instead of selecting all the columns, which reduces unnecessary data retrieval. For example, select name, salary from employees table where department ID is equals to 3. Analyze execution plans. Use the explain keyword or equivalent to analyze how SQL queries are executed and identify bottlenecks. Let's move on to our next question, which is what is the difference between CHAR and VARCHAR? Talking about CHAR, it's a fixed length string. Now, if the string is shorter than the defined length, it will be padded with spaces. VARCHAR is a variable length string. It only uses a much space as needed, making it more efficient when the length of the data varies. Example, char 10 always uses 10 characters even if the string is shorter. VARCHAR 10 will store John as 4 characters without padding. Let's move on to our 10th question, which is what are CTEs, common table expression? The answer is a CTE is a temporary named result set that is defined within a with clause. It makes queries easier to read and write, especially for complex recursive queries. CTEs can also be used to break down large queries into smaller manageable parts. The example, with department salaries as select department ID average salary as average salary. From employees table, group by department ID, select department ID, average salary from department salaries where average salary is greater than 60,000. That's it, folks. By now, you should not only understand what SQL is all about, but also why it's such a crucial skill for acing technical interviews. So whether you're a beginner prepping for your first SQL interview or someone with a bit more experience looking to polish up your skills, this guide has given you everything you need to know to confidently answer SQL questions and dive into those tricky concepts. So guys, go ahead, practice these questions, add in your experiences, and you won't just impress interviewers, you will lead the conversation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more such tips and tricks like these. Your path to SQL success is ready to go. Thank you and keep learning with Simplilearn.